Every time I hear this song, I just want I want to start dancing, you know?
You don't want to see me do that.
Come on, John Rigby. Let's see some dancing.
I can't even hear the music. I don't know what we're dancing to.
Oh, man, you don't know what you're missing. There you go.
I don't have moves. Not at all.
Oh, come on, man. After 6 hours of work today, what'd you say? You worked 6 hours? Or
No. I've been working since 6 a.m.
Oh, boy.
Been up and
oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. How's everybody doing, man? Happy Tuesday. All day I thought it was Wednesday, but apparently it's Tuesday. But happy Tuesday, guys. Ben, what's going on, man? How's your week going so far?
All going well. We're off to a good start. Like always, I have to say the weather is improving here in Connecticut. 70 degrees today. Thinking about when the pool's going to open.
Damn, you're moving on up there, huh? 70 degrees? Maybe the next podcast you'll be in like the 71 or 72, and before, like, I'm assuming around August, you guys up north will be, it'll be pool season, right? Pool will be warm enough by August. Just in time to close it again.
Yeah, basically.
So, John, what's going on, man? John Rigby. Heard a lot about you, actually. You know, when you type in the word pool care or pool maintenance, anywhere on the web, it seems like you come up, you know?
Yeah, that's a good thing, man. We're doing well. It's pool season is getting kicked off here in the Northeast, well, in the northern half of the country. And we're grinding. We're opening pools left and right, and like Ben, we're pretty close in proximity. We've had some decent weather, and it gets warm during the day, and then we turn around and get close to freezing at night. So it's that time of year. But yeah, we're open. It's a good time.
I hear you, John. John, you're in Delaware, I want to say, right?
Yep, just south of Dover. Yep.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, John? Like, what is it, you know, like, how do we find you, right? If I'm in the Delaware area, how do I find you, and what type of services do you provide?
Yeah, so I am a small service company. My story is long, and we don't have a lot of time for that, but we run a small service company in central Delaware. We do openings, closings, weekly maintenance. Our forte has kind of been the service side, coming into a pool that's existing, kind of looking at things. Maybe the customer says, the pump's not pulling right, or I'd like to get a little more flow, or, whatever the case may be. And we focus on upgrading the system, kind of figuring out problem solving, changing some things around. So, we're service guys, we're problem solvers, and we service the Camden, Dover area, pretty much central Delaware.
Now, how does one get one of those shirts you're wearing?
One of these shirts, the few, the proud, man. Not many get these. Reach out to me if you sweet talk me a little bit. Somebody might get one.
Hey, I can wear your shirt
in the garage.
What about if I wear your shirt on the next podcast?
Absolutely.
Ray,
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw, John has made some great YouTube videos, and in one of them, he's wearing a hat that Rigby's pool service, but it is way nicer than the hat you're wearing, first of all.
Oh, get the heck out of here, man. Come on now, Phillies, man.
No.
John, you're in Delaware. You're in Delaware. Let me guess. Of course, you're probably not a Phillies fan, right?
No, but this is Philly country. Don't get that twisted. Delaware is Philly country. We've got some Orioles fans, but man, I grew up in the 90s with Chipper Jones and Greg Maddux. I'm a diehard Braves fan, and you guys can't talk a whole lot. We're defending World Series champs, so
Yeah, for whatever that's worth, right? So, what's funny, guys, right? So, I don't know if, before we get into our little interview, John, because I'm definitely excited. And Ben and I, we've been anticipating this podcast, right? We want to hear all about pool maintenance. I know that a lot has changed in the pool maintenance world. Things have gotten easier, but it's interesting, right? I don't know if you guys had an opportunity. I was on the pool page and I saw this article, right? And I can't find it, but apparently it looks like someone ran off with a client's, like, I want to say it was like over $100,000. It was crazy, but there's a reason why I wanted to bring this up. I can't find the article anymore, right? But when I use the search feature on the pool page, you'll never know what comes up when I type in arrest.
What popped up? What was
It's
it?
a video of Ben pool brushing his wife's car, like removing snow from his wife's car with one of the poolparts2go.com pool brushes. But I'm just curious to see, like, why when I type in arrest is Ben's like post the first one to show up, and then all the other ones below it are apparently guys, which is kind of crazy. It looks like there's several people that have shared stories of these pool builders just going missing and being arrested and basically, taking advantage of people and stealing. It's crazy to me, right? Because when you look at how much money we're talking about, right? We're not talking about a guy runs up with a $3,000 deposit, right? I mean, I'm looking at some of these things like numbers in the six figures, right? Like that tally up to six figures. Like, how's that even possible, right? Like, how does someone trust somebody that much to just hand that kind of cash over and then they get screwed? I know it's a little off topic, but I definitely wanted to share it because I saw it pop up on my feed. And again, now I'm looking for it. And all I see every time I type jail or arrest Ben comes up, right? So I can't find it. But yeah, man, it's kind of crazy, right? And have you seen any of that, John, in the industry? I mean, you've been around for a long time. Is this a new trend or is this something that's been happening in the pool space?
I mean, it's definitely happened. We've heard stories about it for many years. We haven't seen it happen necessarily in my area here in Delaware. I've heard some not great stories, but nothing to that degree. Now, as of recent, it's kind of become with the COVID and with the way the market's going, it's created kind of a perfect storm where people are spending monies in their backyard because they're not going on vacations, right? So they want to invest in their backyards and they've got all this money. So they want to sink it into a pool, and that's everybody. And so builders are in high demand, someone to build your pool. And there's 10 people in line, and the builder says, I want you to pay me 75% before I even put a shovel to the ground. And the homeowner, that makes them uncomfortable because you don't know this person from Adam. You've got a contract, but you've heard all these stories. But if you tell them no and you don't pay them 75%, they're going to go to the next person. And so it kind of tugs on those heartstrings a little bit. The person's eager to get that pool, so they hand that money over. And it's a lot of trust, man. It's a leap of faith. It's
terrible.
Yeah, no, that is terrible. And, again, I mean, you're sometimes, you're talking about people's livelihood, right? There's people that have saved for years to finally put in the pool of their dream in their house. And then all of a sudden those dreams are just shattered, right? It's kind of crazy, right? With all the technology that we have today, you could buy something online and if they don't ship it, you just get PayPal to file a dispute and you get your money back, right? You would think there would be like some sort of like escrowing service, right? That when these people are dumping this kind of cash, that somebody's there to manage and oversee the topic. So,
there's a lot of gray area there too, because the builder can come up with all kinds of reasons. We ran into problems. We hit this, we can't get this. There's a million different avenues that they can take that story down. And even if you fight them for that money, I mean, you're going to be tied up in litigation for years and you're going to spend more money. And they know this. At the end of the day, it's bad people doing bad things, and it's a shame to see. Honestly, it hurts the industry.
No, it just sucks, And then the good guy, I'm sure, that's out there trying to make a living legitimately, they're the ones that get hosed, right? At the end of the day, because the good people by that time they have that distrust, right? That's already been built. So now I just thought we talked about it a little bit, something a little new also for the show as well, So next thing, so let's talk a little bit, obviously, about the subject at hand, right? And that's pool maintenance. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in the industry today, John.
Well, we all know that the latest trend for the last 2 years has been this chlorine shortage. That's nothing new. Anybody that owns a pool or does anything with pools, we know that there is a chlorine shortage. That started last year. Now we're also seeing salt cell shortages. We're seeing shortages across the board, right? So consumers are looking for ways to maximize their chlorine usage or to find alternative methods to sanitize their pool, so we're not relying on those trichlor tabs that are becoming gold, you know. So we're getting a lot of calls from people about salt systems. We have a hard time getting salt systems, so then we go to the next thing, you know. Mineral systems, UV, AOP, you know, ozone, and people are starting to look towards that a little bit more. So we enjoy putting those things in. We think they're awesome. But yeah, so they're just kind of looking for ways to save money and not be so reliant on the chlorine. Yeah.
Right. I guess I never looked at, you know, how much the chip shortage, you know, we think of cars, we think of all these things. I guess I never thought of, you know, salt generators, right? And all these, you know, what I'm seeing is that the whole world and the whole pool industry is now going high tech, right? Everything is all automated. Everything is electronic. And I guess I never like thought of, hey, everything that we're seeing, you know, I mean, God, I thought the toilet paper shortage was bad a few months ago, but now we're having chlorine shortages too, you know?
Yeah, it's across the board. It's everything, and not just with the COVID, but then the Texas, all you guys down south had that major freeze. All kinds of, I think they said upwards of 25,000 pool systems were destroyed. So they took the mass of all this inventory up north and they sent it down there, and the companies just have not caught up. Every time I go into the distribution website, they're at like negative numbers and everything.
You're saying in their inventory, so even you can't get this stuff.
Correct.
So
yes.
Here's a question. So suppose tomorrow morning you get a phone call from somebody, a prospective customer. They have chlorine, they want salt. You can't give them that, right? No one really can give them that right now. It's very hard, or at least you can't do it quickly. Those other options you mentioned, no one knows anything about that. Maybe only you. Can you explain a little bit about what those options are, broad strokes, and the costs associated with implementing them?
So that's a great idea. Obviously, our first term would be to salt. Like you said, we can't get them. Then we would look for ways to. So okay, we're stuck with chlorine. Let's find ways to mitigate the amount that we need to use. Right. So instead of using 6 tabs a week, let's try to get it down to 3. So you're cutting your the amount you spend in half. So we would look towards a system like UV. We would install a UV system, and UV is really good at killing some of the, well, without getting too specific, it doesn't really kill, but it breaks down some of those microorganisms that allows them to not be able to reproduce, and therefore it kind of eliminates them. Systems like that can run, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They are a little pricey, but once they're installed, they're fantastic, and there's not a lot of upkeep. You've got to change the bulbs and those things, but you've got UV, you've got ozone. They're starting to combine the two and make what they call AOP systems, which use UV, ozone, and hydroxy radicals. And those are introducing not just an oxidizer, but also a little more of a sanitizer, and injects it back into the water.
Nice.
You get a little bit of a residual. So again, without getting too deep, your chlorine does 2 things. It does sanitize and it oxidizes, right? Oxidize is when you've got the suntan oil and the skin cells or little Johnny P's in the pool. We want to break that stuff down. And then the sanitizer is more of like your bacteria, your cryptosporidium, your stuff that's going to really cause damage, right? And chlorine goes in and it has to take care of both. So by using a system that also can help oxidize, we're freeing up the chlorine to focus on the harmful stuff in the water, therefore keeping it healthier for the swimmer, you know, getting rid of the cryptosporidium or any type of waterborne pathogens. So we want to look at that stuff.
Hey, John, I got a question for you, right? Speaking kind of alternatives, right, to salt and chlorine. I mean, at the end of the day, I love seeing the argument back and forth on the pool page, you know, oh, salt is chlorine, which essentially it is a chlorinated pool, right? It's just utilizing the salt particles to regenerate that chlorine, right? So it uses a little less of it. But so our prior house, right, we had a liner replaced. We were in the Northeast, and our pool, you know, the liner guy or the pool company that did the liner, which oddly enough was also the same company that put in the pool originally, they suggested that we move away from salt at the time, right? And I want to say it was called the Nature Fusion 2, and it was a cartridge, right? What do you think of that solution? I mean, I'm thinking, you know, I want to look at options after our salt generator burns out in this current house, but I want to get your feedback on it. And is that one of the products out there that there's also a shortage on?
Yeah, so there's two different tiers of those mineral systems, we call them. You have your lower tier that are really affordable for the homeowner, and they also aid your chlorine, and they can lower your chlorine consumption by about 50%. And those products are under like $100, right?
Wow.
Your Blu-ray XL, which is fantastic. Blu-ray XL is great. You get it on Amazon. I want to say, you know, they're maybe $100, and they add a type of mineral to the water, which helps to free up your chlorine. Your Pool RX, Instant Frog. There's a bunch of those. Those are all about $100 or less. And then stepping up a little bit, we've got the fusion systems, which are a little more pricey, but they're also a really good option. Some of them combined the salt in one side and the mineral all in one package. So you're still producing your chlorine from your salt, and at the same time, you've got your minerals there to kind of boost it. Those are great options. I don't see them as available now. Jandy has been really good about cranking out some of their stuff, so maybe in a market that is more Jandy prone, that supports Jandy a little more. My area, we don't see a ton of Jandy equipment. I wish we did, but so I don't see a ton of distribution, but they're definitely there. But those are great options. Yes.
One of the things that I loved about it, honestly, is the simplicity, right? It's a container, right? With a little lever that you adjust. There's nothing plugged in, no electronics, no cell to burn out, you know. The whole concept of it, right, made sense. And back, obviously, in the Northeast, right, your pool season was short. So literally you were putting in one mineral cartridge every single season, and it wasn't even that bad, right? I want to say, what are they, $100, $150, I think, a cartridge, somewhere around there? Or maybe 200 now?
They're about $150 or so, depending on where you get them. Those systems, those were the original Nature systems. And now we have the ones you can throw right in your skimmer, right in your pump basket. We don't need the full setup that they used to need, where it would be plumbed in. You put the whole, it was about, you know, a foot tall. It was big. Now they're tiny. They go right in the skimmer and wham, bam, done. Those are great options. I recommend everybody do it, try it. There are some naysayers about the metals in the water. I personally have used them. I haven't experienced the metals, but you know, that's not to say that some other guys may have. I personally have not. I love them.
And I would assume too, one of the things that you could also do, if I have a salt generator right now that works, I can probably combine the two. And maybe this is an assumption, but I want to hear from you, right? Can I combine the two, reduce my my salt generator, so that it doesn't burn out as quickly, and maybe get twice the life than I normally would see out of a salt generator? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the whole idea behind them is we're not putting them in there to be your main sanitizer, right? We're trying to support whatever sanitizer you're using. We're trying to lower how much of that you need to use. So yeah, using them together is a great duo. And then there's a few other things that we like to kind of do a 3-tiered approach, maybe a 4-tiered approach, including some other things like using borates or enzymes, and kind of combating that with going at it with different angles.
John, how was your chemistry class in high school? I mean, my head's spinning. I didn't know what you're talking about. And I'm in the industry. I'm in the pool industry. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I love chemistry, but that's the hardest thing, right? When we talk to a customer, we geek out over this stuff. Me personally, I don't know if other pool guys do, but I love this stuff, right? So trying to keep that jargon down is tricky. So, you know, I'm glad you kind of said something. Let me take it down a little bit and make it a little more make it a little more user friendly so you guys can understand. I
was just going with the flow and pretending I knew what the hell you were talking about, but I really didn't either.
Yeah, so Ben mentioned my YouTube page earlier. Considering I have a background in education, I do break things down a little more simple in those videos. But yeah, so the gist of it is we just want to find ways to slow down the chlorine usage so that we can make the term make a buck go further. That's pretty much what we're doing with chlorine. And there's several ways we can do it. The minerals are one. Using a product like borates, boric acid is another great way. We could go on a whole path on those. Using enzymes, that's another way. And then using, I lost my train of thought, but those three are fantastic. So
John Rigby knows how to stretch $1. I actually have, okay, so first time pool owner group. Okay. There's a lot of people that have service guys. I have a service company maintain my pool. Okay. There's a lot of people that manage their own pool. From the service perspective, I think it would be helpful if you explained, again, in broad strokes, what should people that are managing their own pool be doing? Should they be brushing once a week? Just what would you suggest? If you had a service call that was equipment only and they had, hey, John, could you just tell me like 3 things?
3 things. Really easy. You've got to brush at least once a week, right? There's hard to reach places behind the ladder, corners of the steps. Get a good brush. I love Ben. I love your rounded brushes. I can't say enough about them. I love them. Right. So getting in those corners, getting behind the ladders, those rounded brushes are clutch. Number 2, you have to empty your skimmer baskets. Nothing irks me more than when I show up week after week and I can tell the skimmer basket hasn't been emptied. There's hardly any flow going to the pump. They have to be emptied. And really, if you're in a place where leaves are falling constantly, they got to be emptied every day. It's killing your system if you're not letting water run through it.
I might be guilty of that.
Okay, so on that topic, I posted a little tidbit on my page today talking about emptying the skimmer baskets. Here's a little fun tip for homeowners. I see this all the time. When you empty those skimmer baskets, Ray, do you turn your pool pump off or do you just pull it out, dump it out, put it back in?
I know the answer that I'm going to give you is the wrong answer because you wouldn't be asking the question if it was that simple. So I'm assuming you probably have to turn the pump off, in which I don't. I just pull the skimmer basket out.
All right, so that's not wrong per se, but think about this.
Sounds like you're about to tell me it's wrong.
All right. Shame on you.
I knew it.
Yeah, it's not right, but it's also not wrong per se. So what happens if you pull those baskets out? That pump's still running, but you missed a bunch of leaves, maybe a rock, maybe a frog, a bullfrog, and it gets sucked into those pipes. And that happens all the time. And again, that's why we have a pump basket to keep that from getting past your pump, but nothing protects from your skimmers to your pumps, right? So the correct answer, if you're going to do that, make sure you reach in, clean out the mouth of the skimmer, pull all that debris and get it all in one swoop and then dump them. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen clogs and they occur because people are dumping their baskets without turning the pump off.
I would have never thought of that.
You obviously have experienced a bullfrog in the pump. It's happened.
Yes. Last year, it happened. It happened to me, and it happened during an opening when I took the gizmos out of the skimmers, right? They're plugged for the winter, and a bullfrog went straight down before I could put the basket in. And it was very difficult.
So you committed the crime.
I did it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it.
Did it live?
No.
No, man, we had to crank that pump up to full speed. We had to rip it through. I mean, it came into the pump, right? and it
That's sad.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. It wasn't good.
All right, so Ray, so you do the wrong thing. We've established that. John,
I'm sure you do the wrong thing unless you're paying somebody to come out to do
it. So I am paying somebody to do it, and they come once a week and do a job. However,
my neighbors don't know the meaning of tree removal and maintenance of their stuff. So towards the end of the season, when everything starts going crazy and the wind pushes it towards my pool, there's a lot of stuff in there. So what I do is I pick up the cover and I reach my hand in and just like take like a handful and just like throw it on the pool deck and wait till, so I don't chuck.
I think we're losing him.
Yeah, so to pick up where he left off, absolutely, and that's fine. Right? You don't lose you're not pulling the basket out. Some people use little fish tank nets to scoop that debris out. That's fine. The skimmer socks, people use those skimmer socks. You can use pantyhose or hair nets off Amazon. Those are great because you can pull those right out. You don't even have to take the basket out, and you dump them right in the trash can right by the pool. But yeah, the correct way. I've never really seen it written in a manual, but that's kind of just been the rule of thumb. If you don't want it sucked through the plumbing, potentially, there's all those 90-degree turns, and over time stuff can build in there, especially if it's a larger item. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
No, I mean, I guess it also makes sense. Now that you mention it, I never thought of it, but it makes sense. And also, if there's a ton of debris, as soon as you lift it off, it's just going to plunge in like a suction. Who knows? There could be pool toys that you have floating in the pool that might make it through a skimmer. I'll never do it again, I promise.
Pool toys are a big one, man. Yeah.
Never. What's the So brushing once a week, skimmer basket. What's the third?
I would say testing. Excuse me. Testing is huge. We always recommend that everybody get a Taylor test kit or something equivalent, right? A K2006 or something to that degree. So you're getting a really good idea of what your chemistry is. I'm a huge fan of the Sutro Smart Water Monitor. I love those things. They do it for you. But if you don't have the money for that or you don't want one, just get a test kit. You need to get an idea of where your numbers are. If your pH is down below 7.0, you're burning through chlorine like that, right? And burning through chlorine is burning through money. So knowing where they are, it will really save you down the road and save you money. It's smart. So I'd say those are the top three.
So I got a question for you, John.
Yep.
Give me your worst pool maintenance story. Somebody called you, they're having a hard time with their pool. You walked into their house and you almost freaking died when you saw what you were getting yourself into.
Well, I could tell you a couple. One of which I don't know if it's definitely not PG.
This is going to be good.
It's pretty good. I'll kind of keep it as G-rated as possible. But I
mean, PG-13 is okay.
All right, PG-13. So I get a call just like what you said, right? Toys get sucked down into the skimmer. So I get a call, skimmer's not pulling. I go out and I'm kind of checking things out, and I figure out what skimmer it is. I lift the basket up, and sure enough, I find a toy wedged in there, right? But it's not a kid's toy. It's not a kid's toy. They had a 4th of July party a few days prior, and I don't know what went on. Things got a little crazy, but there was a toy shoved in there, and I just remind you, I mean, you're talking 2-inch pipe coming out of this skimmer, and so it was a large toy.
All right,
so that was one.
Give us the second.
The second one was probably a job that I took on. I knew that it was probably over my head. I was really new into the business still. I knew the job was a little too complex for me, but I was, hurting for work. I knew that the amount of work this would take, that the customer probably wasn't going to be able to afford it. So we worked out a deal, and I said, listen, this is kind of new territory for me. I'd like to give it a go. I'm not going to charge you a fortune. You know, if I do well, we'll work something out. And long story short, I got so backed into a corner on this pool. It was so hard for me. I was digging down to try to fix some pipes underground during a hurricane, and the pool was below grade, so I couldn't stop the flow, and I didn't know the different tricks of like shoving bread in there to stop the water. So I'm down about 3 feet down, fixing this pipe underwater. It's pouring down rain. I've got a sump pump in the hole, pumping the water out as I'm fixing it, and I just kind of, you know, with an umbrella over me, and it was kind of the moment I was like, man, I probably bit off a little more than I could chew here. The system was not great. So even after I made that repair, I kind of had a realization like, man, I went through 5 days or so of doing all of this, and her pump is still bad. Her filter's still bad. The pool's still bad. That was a wake-up call to me. Is like, I can't repair this if not, you know, if these things still aren't going to work. So that one sticks out in my mind, and there's a lot more to that story, but that was a tough one.
No, and I'm sure that you probably, you know, I'm sure there's probably a lot of those stories also elsewhere. You know, people put in these pools and they're in a different financial situation. You know, they age, their kids move out of their house, and you know, sometimes the pool, obviously, you know, let's just say what it is. They let it go, right? And it's,
yes,
you know, I can see that being a challenge. And, you know, I've even seen situations where people have had no choice after 10, 15 years. They had to, you know, fill the pool, you know, and I don't mean with water. You know what I mean? Like literally just fill it with dirt and just, you know, basically call it a wash. And it's a shame. You know, you almost wish like you could help people like that in a sense, right? Because
Yep. And to some extent, we do try to, but there are times when you know, we'll get called out for an opening, right? We're going out thinking it's a seasonal opening, and to the customer, it is. We're opening the pool,
right?
And mind you, we'll find out that, hey, that pool's been sitting there for 10 years, and you know, all of a sudden, I've got to explain to this person like, hey, this isn't going to cost you what a normal opening would. This is going to take several days. We've got to drain it down, scoop the sludge. We've got to do this, and this. And those types of neglected pools, man, those bills can get up there. I'm talking several $1,000s, but it's a ton of work, and it's dangerous, and it's a lot of costs that go into the chemicals and stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I will never, ever buy a house with a pre-existing pool that, you know, in the middle of winter. It's got to be in the summer where you can look at it, you know, test everything. Because I'm sure that also happens as well, right? You see a picture in the listing from maybe, you know, 2 years ago. Then you find out once you open the thing up, you know, you never know what the heck you're going to find under there. You know what I mean? And I've seen stories like that also on the pool page, you know, where people have just purchased these, you know, their dream home, and it ends up being a nightmare that they go and uncover the pool. So, Ben, you were going to say something?
I was one of those people that bought a house that you could not properly inspect the pool.
How did you make out?
I got lucky. It was green. Once the cover came off, it was green. All the equipment worked for a season. We started to replace. That wasn't a huge deal, but yeah, no, there were no leaks. Everything worked. They just had to do a good cleaning job. A lot of chemicals. We couldn't use once they opened. We couldn't use the pool for like 3 or 4 days because of the amount of shock and all that. But no, we got lucky. We got very lucky on that one. I had a question from the pool service guy perspective.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, I don't know how to phrase this. Customers that, like, how do you want customers when they have an issue or something like that? Mm-hmm. How do you want them to approach you? Because I've seen some crazy stuff from both ends. And I think that there's a common, maybe like a lack of respect. And I think that there's probably a better way to deal with an issue, whether it be a performance issue to the pool or the service company, or just general like interpersonal type of stuff.
That's a great question, Ben.
That's a great question. And I'm going to catch some slack for this from some guys in the industry. But me personally, this is the reason why I don't do contracts. right? People ask all the time, how much is it going to cost all summer long? What's that price? And I say, we don't do that. We do week to week. And the reason being, if I'm not performing the way that you as a consumer want, I want you to be able to fire me if I'm not meeting those expectations.
Right.
But the table can be turned, right? If I'm not happy with you, I can walk away as well. And that's never happened. But I think that we've been really lucky. We have awesome customers. And I think if there were ever to be any type of issue, and I do think the reason we haven't had a ton is the communication. It's from the very beginning, I set forth and I say, hey, this is what we cost. We are expensive, but we do a lot. We do a lot more than a lot of companies do, right? If you think we're expensive, or if you think we're doing something wrong, just ask. Because a lot of times it's a misunderstanding, or I'd be happy to explain it to you, or whatever the case may be. But I think really just we've got to be open. You've got to tell me. We've got to talk. I think across the human race, right? The biggest thing with you guys are being married, lack of communication causes all kinds of problems, right?
I've heard that before.
Yeah, me too. Maybe even prior to this podcast today.
Sure. I think too that text messaging can be a really good tool, but there are some conversations that we should do either face to face or over the phone. And this is one of those instances where if you're unhappy with me or I'm unhappy with you, we should probably speak face to face. If you send it in a text, I can misconstrue what you're saying or take it in some whatever. But I think it's a conversation you either have in person. But really just that communication is key. Line out what your expectations are of the company. This is what I want done. And if they're not meeting those needs, talk to them first and say, hey, I thought that we agreed that you would do this, this, and this. And if they don't, you can part ways, but there's got to be that clear cut. This is what we want done. This is what we expect, and expect that to go both ways as well. So.
That's awesome. Well, we're coming up here at 40 minutes, John. I want to give you a couple minutes to, obviously let everybody know again a little bit more about your company. How do they find you? Services that you provide. So this is your chance basically to steal the spotlight. So take advantage of it.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I love the spotlight. So we are in Camden, Delaware, but we also do a lot of business across the nation, right? We have a lot of customers in Texas and all over that we kind of guide. They might reach out to us on Facebook at Rigby's Pool Services or directly to me at John Rigby. Our email is rigby'spoolservices@gmail.com. Our YouTube page is at Rigby's Pool Services. You can reach out to me with any types of questions. I love helping people. I love pool stuff. I love talking about chemistry. So anything you want to, pick my brain about or just kind of bounce off me, by all means, reach out to me anyway. My number's all over my website, which is rigby'spoolservices.com. You can call me, text me. If it's the middle of the night, I might not get back to you right away, but I'm
going to text you in the middle of the night. I want to see what your customer service is like after midnight.
Top notch, brother. Top notch. You get that automated response that says, "Hey, man, I'm sleeping." I'll get back to you in the morning.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the All About Pools podcast. Let's give a round of applause to John Rigby from Rigby's Pool Care or Pool Services, right?
Rigby's
John,
Pool Services. That's right.
Rigby's Pool Services. If you're in the Delaware area, be sure to check them out. I just want to say, John, while everybody is listening to us right now, I really, really appreciate your engagement and your participation in the pool page. You are a great asset to our first-time pool owners group. You do a fantastic job. I see you, replying when people are in need or have questions. And you know what? On behalf of our entire team, we truly appreciate you being on the page. Again, guys, if you guys need anyone to take care of your pool, John Rigby is the man. I personally have called John on several occasions when I've had questions. The guy is super responsive. Great guy to work with, as you can tell, super passionate about the industry, loves talking and chatting and educating. So, John, again, kudos to you on building such a remarkable company. And again, thank you for coming in deep into the All About Pools podcast. We'll see you guys on the next episode of All About Pools. Thanks for watching.